And a very warm welcome to our last but very special guest, Ted Smethers. Ted, how are you doing today?
Wonderful. It's a beautiful day.
Can you say for the camera what your Pdga number is?
1159.
All right, and Ted, you were the commissioner of the Pdga from 1984 to 88?
Something like that.
All right, and an inaugural member of the Disc Golf Hall of Fame in 1993. Shed some light on those two huge, amazing facts about yourself.
Well, I remember in 84 we were sitting around the room. I was about to be proclaimed head honcho, and we were sitting around. I remember Joe Fight, and he said, "What are we going to call you?" And I said, "I don't know, Grand Poobah, what, right?" He says, "Well, the head of ball golf is the commissioner. Head of baseball is the commissioner." So I said, "Commissioner of disc golf." There we go. So we invented the title, sitting around having a beer, waiting for the big meeting, and so that's how that came about.
And the Hall of Fame, only with, I believe, 6 other members. There were 7 total inducted at that time.
Yeah, I was the last one in, but hey, I got in, and I didn't get in because I was a great disc golf player. I was the right guy at the right time with the right attitude and the right skill set. And I basically took the Pdga from Steady Ed, who'd used it. Steady Ed created it basically as a marketing tool, and it didn't really exist as an organization. And I made an organization out of it. Ed graciously gave it, let us have the name, and we transitioned over, set up a board of directors, set up with bylaws and constitution, and the rest is history.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people want to ask and hear about this. The next question: what was your relationship with Steady Ed?
It was wonderful at first. He told me one time he had a letter that I'd written him that when he feels bad, he pulls it out and reads it. And so we kind of had that relationship. But it toward the end, it's kind of a special story because he was kind of a control freak guy. And so really he didn't like losing control, which he did. And so he kind of turned on me there right at the crux time. And that was very hurtful, very, very hurtful. And so we really didn't speak again for several years. And by chance, I went to California on a business trip. So, I didn't call him, tell him we were coming. And this is kind of a God thing, because middle of the week, like a Tuesday afternoon, me and my friend went out to play disc golf at Oak Grove. I'd never played Oak Grove before. And never, I don't go to California very often. On the second hole, there was Steady Ed and his wife and a couple other people, and they invited us to play with them, which we did. We played the course, and we kind of got a chance to kiss and make up.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that story with us.
Pretty special time.
Absolutely. I'm going to jump right into something. Did you ever envision disc golf professionally being in the state that it's at today? We've got cameras, we've got the Disc Golf Pro Tour, Pdga in the state that it's in.
Obviously not in detail, but yes, when I stepped down and walked away, I had the vision for this, and I could taste it and I could smell it, but I realized I couldn't do it. And so what I want to say is you guys are my testimony. The only way that I could measure success is to walk away. If this doesn't happen because I'm not there, it all died and fell away, then I was a failure. The fact that you guys are here
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
y'all are my testimony, really.
Wonderful. And just one more question. You're out here this weekend in Jonesboro. Are you local to the area, and will you be here for the event?
I live in Hot Springs, which is about 3 hours south of here. No, we're headed back home. I'm really not active in disc golf at the present time. When I left disc golf, I really more or less had to quit because I tore up my shoulder and I couldn't throw hardly. And so I took up whitewater kayaking for 20 years and I was a way better kayaker than I was ever at disc golf. And now I'm into my shooting sports phase, and I'm very active in shooting competitions. We have a competition Saturday, so I'll be doing that. So.
Hi, Ted. Grant Zellner, Pdga. Thanks for the seeds that you planted so many years ago, by the way. I've got kind of just one question for you, sort of a backwards question. So often we focus on asking people like yourself that have been around the game for a while about all of the things that have changed in the world of disc golf.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a different question. What hasn't changed about disc golf? What still remains today that was part of the disc golf culture back in 1984?
You know, sitting here watching the guys tee off on hole one, that's what hadn't changed. The joy of the sport, the camaraderie, the guys are cheering for each other, they're rooting each other on. One guy throws and he talks about how, hey, you got to put a little hyzer on it or whatever. There's a camaraderie, and that hasn't changed. Everybody gets along. It's something we share, and that's what hasn't changed. The disc still flies.
Just before you came on the air with us this afternoon, you showed me a couple of, well, what would you call those? Artifacts?
Yeah, so this is a 1984 Apple Macintosh. This is the original Macintosh, the original production run that I purchased in 1984 to operate the Pdga.
The whole Pdga is in the computer.
The whole
is what you
thing.
say.
And this is a museum piece in of itself. Let me have the book. With that, I created. This is the book. So when I started, there was no course directory. I had to create the course directory. I had to create a pro tour. I had to know where the courses are and who the pro tours are, right? And where they were. And so that's the course directory. And then I had a database program. There's all the information here. There's the club organization. There's an org chart. So
wow.
this was the book that I used to create the Pdga. That's the original Pdga right there in that book, and it's all on that Macintosh. And there's letters in there. It was still functioning when I last turned it off. So, whether it'll still boot up, I don't know. Yeah.
Those are legendary artifacts from a legend. It's Hall of Famer Ted Smethers. Thank you for being here with us today.
Glad to do it. Enjoyed it. Thank you.